My cheating fiancé's friends ended up physically attacking me after I refused to marry her. So, I pressed charges, and now they are all in jail. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. Our channel's been losing some traction lately, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, it's free, and it really helps us keep bringing you great content. Your support means the world to us. So let's keep this channel growing together. Thank you so much. Now, let's get into it. So, throwaway account here, because some of this is still tied up in the legal system, and using my main account would make me way too easy to identify. Honestly, even now, I have trouble believing this all actually happened to me. What started out as a normal engagement somehow ended with 3 people in state prison, 2 more on probation, my ex facing jail time, and her lawyer boyfriend probably about to get disbarred. Just typing that out feels surreal. So, let me back up a bit and give you some background, because you really need to understand how this all unfolded. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and my ex-fiancée, let's call her Katie, 29, came into my life about 4 years ago. We met at the sports bar I manage. Yeah, I know what you're probably thinking. Manager at a sports bar doesn't sound like the most glamorous career. But truthfully, I love my job. I started out as a bartender right after college with a business degree I never really used. I worked my way up and eventually became general manager. I now run one of the most successful locations in our chain. We do great business, we've got loyal regulars, and my staff actually likes working there, which, trust me, is rare in this industry. Katie, on the other hand, was this super successful real estate agent, the kind who posts humble brag updates on LinkedIn every week. Just sold another $1 million property. That was her vibe. The first night I met her, she came in with her old high school friend group. Every one of them was crazy successful on paper. 2 corporate lawyers, a dermatologist, a hedge fund finance guy, and a marketing director for a big tech company. That night they were celebrating a birthday and dropped over $600 on drinks and appetizers. After that, Katie started coming back, usually during my shifts. We hit it off quickly. She loved that I could make her laugh, and I admired how ambitious she was. But her friends? Looking back now, there were definitely red flags. They'd make these little comments about my job, like, "Oh, it's nice that you're happy where you are." Or, "Have you ever thought about moving into corporate management?" Subtle digs. But when you're falling for someone, you brush that stuff off. Things moved quickly between us. Within 3 months, Katie was practically living at my place. By the 1-year mark, we officially moved in together. I had a nice 2-bedroom apartment in a modern downtown building, not overly fancy, but it had a doorman and security cameras, which, trust me, will become important later. The lease was in my name since I had better credit and had been there longer. Life was good for a while. Katie was crushing it in real estate, making more than double what I did, something her friends never let me forget. But we were happy. I was moving up too. I got promoted to general manager, and later I was put in charge of training new managers at other locations. Our families got along. Her parents were sweet, treated me like a son. My parents loved her ambition. By last December, I decided to propose. I planned a weekend getaway at a mountain resort about 3 hours away. Private dinner overlooking the lake, ring hidden in dessert, the whole cheesy but romantic setup. Katie said yes. We spent the weekend celebrating and immediately dove into wedding planning. We set the date for October before it got too cold. Her parents even offered to cover most of it. They put down about $40,000 in deposits for the venue, catering, flowers, everything. That's when things started to get weird. Suddenly, Katie's friends had to be involved in every single wedding decision. The color scheme, the menu, the seating chart, everything had to go through them first. It was exhausting. Their comments about my job got nastier, too. Things like, "Are you sure you want the wedding at 6 p.m? Won't OP have to work?" Or, "Maybe do dress shopping on a Tuesday, since it's probably slow at the sports bar." Constant little digs. And Katie never stood up for me. She'd either laugh it off or, worse, agree with them. Then I noticed other changes. She started working late all the time, claiming she had emergency showings. She changed her phone password and kept it face down constantly. You know, the classic cheating behavior. But I trusted her. Or maybe I was just being stupid. Here's where it really blew up. We have this regular at the bar. Let's call her Sarah. Mid-30s, works in HR, comes in every Wednesday for trivia night with her co-workers. Super nice, tips well, never a problem. But one Wednesday, Sarah seemed off. She kept looking at her phone, then at me, then back at her phone again. During breaks, she barely spoke to her friends. Finally, she waved me over and asked if we could talk privately. I figured maybe there was an issue with another customer, so I took her to the little office by the kitchen. But she looked so uncomfortable, like she was about to tell me someone died. She fidgeted with her phone case and finally said, "I wasn't sure if I should tell you this, but I would want someone to tell me if it were my relationship." Turns out her sister Jenny works at this super fancy salon downtown, the kind of place where a haircut costs more than my rent. Katie had been going there for about a year, always booking appointments when I was at work. That morning, Katie came in for highlights, and she spent the entire 2-hour appointment on the phone with someone she kept calling babe and baby. Jenny overheard everything. Katie was laughing, making plans for a weekend getaway, and even said her idiot fiancé, that's me, would think she was at a real estate conference. I was stunned. I tried to rationalize. Maybe it was a girlfriend? Some women call their friends babe, right? But Sarah wasn't finished. She pulled out her phone and showed me an Instagram story her sister sent her. It was from a fancy restaurant 2 towns over, posted by some random person celebrating their engagement. But in the background of their champagne toast, clear as day, was Katie. Katie cuddled up with some guy in an expensive suit. The timestamp? 7:47 p.m. That same night, at 9:52, Katie had sent me a selfie from girls' night. Face masks, wine, the whole stage set up. She had literally faked an entire night just to cover her date. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. I thanked Sarah. What else could I say? She kept apologizing over and over. I told her she did the right thing, calmed her groups tab, and went back to work. Still had 5 hours left on my shift, just running on autopilot. Instead of confronting Katie right away, I decided to dig deeper. See, we had this shared iPad at home for Netflix. Months earlier, Katie had logged into her iCloud on it when her phone was getting repaired, and apparently she forgot about it. That night, while she was sleeping at a friend's house, yeah, right, I opened the iPad. Holy hell. There were hundreds of messages between Katie and her ex. Let's call him Michael. This wasn't some random fling. They had been hooking up at a fancy hotel near his office for months, since February. The messages were graphic. I'll spare you the details. But it wasn't just sex. They were mocking me, planning their future, talking about doing it right this time. And the worst part? All of her friends knew. Every single one of them. The group chat was full of them giving her advice on how to hide it better, making jokes about my job. At least Michael can afford a real restaurant, not just bar food. Coaching her on excuses if I ever got suspicious, even encouraging her to wait until after the wedding so she could get more money in the divorce. I screenshot everything, sent it to my email, backed it up to Google Drive, even took photos of the iPad screen just in case. The messages went back months. Every girls' night, every work event, every conference, she was with him. And her friends weren't just covering for her, they were actively planning it. One message gutted me the most. The night I proposed, while I was nervously practicing my speech at dinner, Katie texted him, "Don't worry, baby. This doesn't change anything. It's just business. You're the one I really love." I didn't sleep at all that night. I just sat in the living room, scrolling through months of lies, wondering how someone could be this cruel. How do you sleep next to me every night, plan a wedding, plan a future, while plotting my destruction? The next evening, she came home around 7 p.m., supposedly from showing houses. But I already knew from the messages that she'd just been at Michael's place. I was ready. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just handed her the iPad, already open to their messages, and that's where I'll pause the setup. She bounced into the apartment all cheerful, going on about how she'd shown 3 houses that day. Narrator's note, she did not show any houses that day. I let her ramble for a minute while. She set her stuff down. She even had the nerve to ask what I wanted for dinner, like everything was perfectly normal. I'd spent the entire day rehearsing what I was going to say, but when the moment finally came, I couldn't even get the words out. I just handed her the iPad, open to her messages with Michael. She tried to play it cool for maybe 2 seconds, saying, "What am I supposed to be looking at?" But then she saw the date on the messages, and she literally dropped the iPad onto the coffee table. You ever see someone's entire face change, like their mask just falls off? That's exactly what happened. She went from confused, to panicked, to furious in about 5 seconds flat. She started screaming at me, saying I had invaded her privacy and had no right to go through her messages. Like, seriously, that's what she was worried about? I stayed quiet. Thank God for bartender experience and knowing how to keep my cool. I just kept scrolling through her messages while she freaked out. Then I got to the ones from the night I proposed. I handed her the iPad again and read it out loud. She didn't even try to deny it. She just started crying, but not sorry crying. This was full-on manipulation crying, the kind meant to make you feel guilty for catching them. She kept saying it was just a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that Michael was a past and I was a future. Spoiler alert, according to her own messages, I wasn't her future. I was her meal ticket until she could divorce me for more money. And here's the best part, she actually tried to blame me. She said I was emotionally unavailable because I worked nights at the bar. She said she was lonely, and Michael understood her better because they came from similar backgrounds. Then she dropped this gem: if you hadn't gone through my private messages, we could have been happy. That's when I finally lost my cool a little. I wasn't yelling, but I definitely wasn't calm anymore. I asked her if we could really have been happy while she was letting her friends plan both our wedding and her divorce at the same time. I asked how many of our special moments she'd ruined by texting him. Engagement, holidays, birthdays. There were messages to him within hours of every single one. She switched tactics fast, faster than a politician during election season. Suddenly, it wasn't about love anymore. It was about logistics, the wedding deposits, how her parents had already paid for everything, what people would think. Not a single word about actually being sorry. Not one word about loving me. Just money and appearances. I told her the wedding was obviously off and gave her 30 days to move out. I made sure to phrase it exactly according to our state's tenant laws, because I'd Googled that earlier in the day. Even though she wasn't on the lease, she'd lived there long enough to have tenant rights. I was pissed, but I wasn't stupid. That's when she pulled out her phone. I figured she was calling her mom or something. Nope. She was texting the group chat. Remember those successful professional friends? Yeah, she was calling in the cavalry. You're going to regret this, she said while typing away. You have no idea who you're messing with. I actually laughed. Like, what was this, a bad mob movie? I told her she had 30 days to get her stuff and get out, and that I was going to stay at my buddy's place tonight to give her space if she wanted to start packing. I started throwing some clothes and work gear into a bag. Meanwhile, she was still typing, crying, but also smirking. That should have been my first warning that something was really, really wrong. I was almost to the door when she said, "They're already on their way. You should wait to hear their side of this." Now, I'm not a small guy. I work at a bar. I know how to handle myself if things get rowdy. But something in her voice made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. So I decided to start recording on my phone, just in case. Thank God I did. I made it about halfway to my car when I saw them pull into the parking lot. 2 separate cars. 5 of her friends, the 2 lawyers, the finance executive, the doctor, and the marketing director. They weren't dressed for work anymore. They looked like they'd all just come from the gym or something. And they did not look happy. So there I am in the parking lot, 5 angry women climbing out of their cars, Katie watching smugly from our apartment balcony, my phone recording in my pocket. I was trying to decide whether to go back inside or try to get to my car. Before I could, Hannah, the finance executive, starts screaming that I'm an abusive piece of garbage and that they're not going to let me hurt Katie anymore. The other 4 spread out, blocking my path to both my car and the building entrance. Rachel, lawyer number 1, pulls out her phone and starts recording, saying loudly, "We are just here to help Katie get her things safely. No one wants any violence." Meanwhile, Jessica, lawyer number 2, is texting something and grinning like this is all some big joke. The doctor, Maria, and the marketing director, Ashley, stood there looking nervous but trying to act tough. I kept my voice calm, held my hands up where they could see them, and said, "I've given Katie 30 days notice as required by law. I'm leaving for the night to give her space to pack. Please don't make this worse." That's when Hannah got right up in my face. She's screaming about how they know all about my abuse, and how they're not going to let Katie spend another night with a monster like me. I kept backing up, still holding my hands up, saying, "There are security cameras everywhere. I'm recording this. Please, just let me leave." Looking back, mentioning the recording was my mistake, because Rachel immediately shouted, "He's threatening to release private recordings of Katie. Get his phone." And that's when everything went completely insane. Hannah lunged for my jacket pocket where my phone was. I turned to protect it, and Jessica tackled me from behind. Full-on rugby tackle. Found out later during the trial she'd actually played rugby in college. So yeah, she knew exactly what she was doing. I'm 6 feet 1 inch. She's maybe 5 feet 4 inches. But she had me down on the ground, trying to put me in some kind of hold. Hannah started kicking me while Rachel kept recording and yelling, "Stop resisting. Why are you fighting back?" Maria and Ashley just stood there, looking terrified but not helping. I was trying my hardest not to fight back, because I knew how this looked, big guy versus 5 women. So I just tried to protect my head and not hurt anyone. And then Katie came running out of the apartment. And what was she carrying? Our kitchen knife set. Not one knife, the entire wooden block. She was screaming that I needed to learn my lesson and started handing out knives to her friends. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I started panicking. Jessica still had me pinned, Hannah was kicking me, and now they all had knives. I managed to get one arm free and pull out my phone. Hit the emergency SOS button, the iPhone feature where you click the power button 5 times and it auto-dials 911. I started screaming, "The police are coming," as loud as I could, hoping someone in the building would hear. Rachel, still recording, yelled, "No one will believe you." And then, Jesus, Hannah stabbed me. Actually stabbed me in the arm. Not super deep because I jerked away, but deep enough that I'd later need 12 stitches. Blood was everywhere. That must have freaked out Maria and Ashley, because they started backing away. The next minute or two was a blur. I remember Katie screaming, "Finish it," from behind me. Hannah trying to stab me again. Jessica yelling, "Hold him still." And then, sirens. Lots of them. Suddenly, the parking lot was full of cop cars. Thank God one of my neighbors had seen what was happening and also called 911, so the police already knew it was serious. Cops came in with guns drawn, ordering everyone to drop the weapons. Hannah and Jessica tried to run but didn't make it far. Rachel kept recording, refusing to drop her phone. Until a cop tackled Rachel, she just wouldn't stop recording. And Katie. She was still standing there with the entire knife block in her hands, screaming that I had attacked them and they were only defending themselves. Meanwhile, I was bleeding out, clearly not fighting back, and all of it was caught on at least 3 different cameras. My phone, the building security system, and Rachel's dumbest live stream. The next few hours were a blur. Ambulance ride. ER. Police interviews. Dozens of photos of my injuries. Besides the stab wound, I had 2 broken ribs, a concussion, and I looked like I'd gone 10 rounds in the UFC. But here's the real kicker. While I was in the ER, those idiots were at the police station arguing with cops about getting their phones back so they could delete some personal stuff. Rachel, yes, an actual lawyer, actually said, "If you look at our group chat, it will be misinterpreted." The next few days after the attack were insane. That first night in the ER, I got stitched up and treated. Pro tip: when the nurse asks your pain level and you say 4 or 5 while you've got broken ribs, they just assume you're being a tough guy and hand you the good painkillers. Anyway, while I was getting patched up, a victim advocate from the DA's office came in. She started explaining all this legal stuff, but I was high as a kite on whatever they gave me. The one thing I remember clearly was her saying, "This is the most clear-cut case of premeditated assault I've seen in years." And she had no idea how right she was. Meanwhile, Katie and her psycho squad were having their own fun night in county jail. They were split into separate cells because they wouldn't stop trying to coordinate their stories. Rachel, the lawyer, kept demanding her one phone call like this was some TV drama. Jessica pulled the whole "do you know who I am?" routine. And Hannah, the one who stabbed me, had a complete meltdown when they took her designer jacket as evidence because it had my blood on it. And here's where it gets good. Remember how Rachel was recording everything? She wasn't just recording. She was live streaming to their private Instagram group. The cops got a warrant for their phones and social media, and what they found? Unreal. Not just the attack, but months of them planning it. Their group chat was a goldmine. These sophisticated professionals had literally written out their plan like it was a damn PowerPoint. Provoke me until I snapped. Record me being abusive, aka defending myself. Edit the videos to make me look bad. File false domestic violence charges. Get me arrested and evicted from my own apartment. Move Katie in with Michael while I was in jail. Wait until after the wedding date. Have Katie file for divorce claiming emotional distress. Use the edited videos to get a bigger settlement. It was all there. Messages about camera angles, who would do what, even the cherry on top. They used their corporate work phones to plan the entire thing. But wait, it gets better. 2 days after the attack, while I was still in the hospital, Katie actually showed up at my work. She started telling my staff and customers that I was abusive, that I had attacked her friends, and that everyone needed to know the truth about me. My assistant manager, shout out to Dave, you're a real one, got the whole thing on security cameras and immediately called the cops. She did this 3 more times before they finally arrested her for violating the emergency restraining order that had already been put in place. Each time she showed up, she'd bring one of the other 2, Maria or Ashley, the 2 who weren't in jail, to witness her telling the story. They even filmed it, probably thinking they were gathering evidence. Spoiler, those videos ended up being used against them instead. Then Michael, remember him? The lawyer boyfriend, got involved. This genius started sending threatening emails to me and to the cops who arrested his girlfriend's friends. Full-on movie villain lines like, "You don't know who you're dealing with." Or, "I have friends in the DA's office, and this will all go away if you drop the charges." And get this, he sent them from his actual law firm email. A licensed attorney, threatening both a victim and law enforcement, using his verified work email. The DA's office was practically salivating when they got those. About a week after the attack, their high-powered defense attorneys showed up for the bail hearing. They looked like they'd walked straight off a TV set, confident, smug, talking about their clients' stellar reputations and community standing. The judge, this older guy, looked like he was about to fall asleep during their whole speech. Then the prosecutor stood up and just started dropping bombs. Full security footage from multiple building cameras. My phone recording. Rachel's live stream. Group chat messages. Screenshots of them Googling things like how to make self-defense look real, and what happens if you stab someone in self-defense. The threats from Michael. Katie's harassment at my work. My medical records showing defensive wounds. Witness statements from neighbors. The knife WI. He set their bail at $500,000 each. Hannah, Jessica, and Rachel had to surrender their passports and wear ankle monitors because they were considered flight risks. Turns out they all had international accounts and properties. Maria and Ashley, the 2 who didn't physically take part in the stabbing, got lesser charges and lower bail but still had to wear monitors. Katie got hit with conspiracy charges and had to surrender her passport too. But the real bombshell dropped about 2 weeks later. Ashley, who had been spiraling since the attack, finally cracked. Her lawyer contacted the DA's office saying she wanted to make a deal. Turns out she had another group chat that the others didn't know about, where they were even more explicit about their plans. She had voice messages from Katie talking about how they'd practiced the attack at Maria's home gym. Videos of them discussing how to make it look like self-defense. Messages about how they chose my apartment specifically because they knew where the security cameras were and thought they could twist the footage to their advantage. And the best part? She had a video of them all celebrating at a wine bar after Katie got engaged, literally planning how they'd help her get a better divorce settlement by setting me up. This was from the very night I proposed. While I was texting our families the happy news, they were already planning how to destroy my life. The trial started in November, about 7 months after the attack. Those months were rough. Katie and the 2 friends who weren't in jail, Maria and Ashley, kept trying to spread lies about me around town. They made fake social media accounts to post edited clips from the attack. They tried contacting my employees to dig up dirt. They even showed up at my parents' house to tell their side of the story. My lawyer, provided by the DA's office since this was a criminal case, was this tiny woman in her 50s who looked like everybody's favorite aunt. But in court, she was scary as hell. The first thing she told me was, document everything and don't respond to any attempts at contact. So that's what I did. Every fake account, every harassment attempt, every little thing went into a folder. All of it just made their case worse. The trial itself was surreal. Their defense strategy was, Interesting. They tried claiming they were protecting Katie from an abusive relationship despite zero evidence of abuse. They claimed self-defense, even though they literally brought knives to ambush me. Their lawyers kept trying to paint me as this violent, controlling boyfriend because I, checks notes, caught their client cheating and asked her to move out. Like, what? I had to testify for 2 full days. Their lawyers tried every trick in the book to make me lose my cool. They called me a liar, suggested I was the real abuser, even tried to make it seem like I was homophobic because I didn't want Katie hanging out with her friends alone, aka while she was cheating on me. But bartending teaches you how to stay calm when people are screaming in your face. So I just kept telling the truth. The prosecution's case? Beautiful. They had a huge TV screen set up in the courtroom and laid everything out in chronological order. Security footage of them arriving at my apartment and spreading out to trap me. My phone recording of the attack. Rachel's live stream showing them with knives. Building security footage of the actual stabbing. Police body cam footage of their arrests. Video of Katie harassing me at work. Screenshots of their group chats planning everything. Michael's threatening emails. Medical photos of my injuries. The knife with Hannah's fingerprints and my blood on it. But the real star. It was Ashley's testimony that sealed it. She'd taken the plea deal, smart move, and laid everything out in full. She told the jury how they had planned this for months. How Katie had been cheating since before the engagement, but wanted to wait until after the wedding because she thought she'd get more money in a divorce. How they had even practiced the attack at Maria's gym, rehearsing exactly how to make it look like self-defense. The jury's faces during her testimony were priceless. This wasn't just a group of friends who'd gotten carried away protecting someone they cared about. No, this was a cold, calculated plan to set me up, get me arrested, and help Katie scam me in a divorce. Then Katie took the stand to defend her friends. Stupid move. Holy hell, what a disaster. The prosecutor basically let her talk herself right into a confession. She started off all tearful, acting scared of me, despite there being zero evidence and despite the fact she had been living with me voluntarily. But then she lost it. When they showed her messages where she planned the attack, she snapped and started yelling that I deserved it for going through her iPad. And then, the worst part, she slipped. She accidentally mentioned that Michael, her lawyer boyfriend, had helped her write the fake police report about me being abusive. She said it under oath. The prosecutor's eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning. After that, their defense just crumbled. The jury only took 6 hours to find them guilty. Hannah, Jessica, and Rachel, the stabby squad, were convicted of attempted aggravated assault, conspiracy, and a bunch of other charges. Maria was convicted of conspiracy and accessory charges. Ashley, thanks to her plea deal, got just probation since she testified. The sentencing hearing was something else. The judge was furious. He called it one of the most calculated and malicious cases he had seen in 30 years. He said that their status as legal professionals actually made it worse, because they knew exactly what they were doing was wrong. Final sentences. Hannah, aka Stabby McStabersenson, 36 months in state prison. No parole for 24 months, plus 5 years probation after release. Jessica, the rugby tackle lawyer, same as Hannah. Rachel, the livestream genius, same as Hannah. Maria, the nervous doctor, 18 months probation, 300 hours of community service. Ashley, with the plea deal, 12 months probation, and her testimony against the others. Katie, her separate trial was still pending at the time, but she ended up taking a plea deal too. And then there was Michael. Oh boy. Wait until you hear what happened to him. They all lost their professional licenses. The lawyers? Disbarred. No surprise. The doctor? She lost her medical license. The finance exec? Lost all her certifications. Their fancy careers, gone. Their reputations, destroyed. Their freedom, gone, at least for 3 years. That's where it all landed. I'll update if anything else happens. Thanks for your help, and thanks for your comments.